I start the meeting here again. So I share my Zoom with you guys. So yes. Okay. So, okay. I was supposed to give you a break, but sometimes like technical problems will not cooperate with us to go according to the plan. So we took a break by also switching to another Zoom link. So sorry for that, for the inconvenience. So I hope that that is do you accept my apology? So welcome back. Just for you guys, if you want to be in contact with me, so there is my Facebook plus Instagram, so you can contact me anytime. So I'm really happy to help you guys. And Kamal, can I request you all to write down your questions, because we have a very question and answer session at the end, and I'm really happy to answer all of your questions there, because just due to that, Zoom is not free, because I don't want to put much time on the question and answer right now. So please write down your questions, and I do respect. That's really nice of you guys to ask questions, but please save that for just for some minutes. Okay, so again, okay, I will ask some questions, or we will begin with some sentences. So now you might ask that, is it enough to apply to the US universities only with your grades or GPA? This is one of your questions, so I will answer it. And the next question is English test score like TOEFL, sorry, excuse me, TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo a requirement for the admission? Okay. This is maybe one of the very questions that you all have. And also maybe how much time is required to prepare for applying to the US universities and colleges? I think this is a very important question that we all have to know it according to our own circumstances and situation. And the fourth one is, what are the things that I should arrange or fix them, or to prepare myself? So there are the things that I think answering to those questions will help us to really prepare ourselves for the US colleges and universities for admission process. So now when applying to the US colleges and universities, it is extremely different compared to other schools in other countries. For example, in Sweden, you only upload your grads on a website, and that's all. Nothing will happen more except that. So even the universities, they don't know that behind this GPA or behind these grades is there like a human being or a robot or anyone else. But that's not the case when it comes to US universities and colleges. And there are 8 factors or components for the admission process. And this is really important that we should know them, and we should know how to deal with those. So now I just wish that I had this information before, like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So those all 8 factors or components, I have categorized them into 3 categories that I will go. So now the first category, that those components or factors which need at least between 2 to 4 years are high school grades or GPA and extracurricular activities. I will talk about all of those in details later on. And the second category is to prepare for English test and give your English test. And the second thing is to give and to prepare for SAT or SAT and to give that test. And the third category is which requires between half year to 1.5 years, that is to filling the Common App. I will talk about that. And to write your personal statement, to answering the questions of schools, and also the interview, which is not very important, but also very important. But that's not a part of the admission process. Interview will take place after admission process. So, we will start with the first category, which needs between 2 to 4 years at least. The first one is your high school, okay? It really varies, and it is different where you study your high school, because in some countries like in Sweden, in Afghanistan, high school is 3 years, and that is 10th, 11th, and 12th grades. But in the US, the high school is 4 years, because their high school, it starts from the 9th grade, that they say freshman, and they say like sophomore, junior, and senior. But for those of you who have studied IB, or you study IB program, which is a high school program, that is for 2 years. But again, in some schools, like in Sweden, if you study IB, you have to study 3 years, because high school in Sweden, that is 3 years. So you have to study 1 more year, even if you study IB. And the first year is just for preparation of IB. But in other schools, for example, if you apply from Afghanistan for IB program, you study only 2 years. I hope that I'm not wrong about this. Now I'm really talking about the top US schools, okay? The top US schools, and everything is like designed according to those schools, but you can also make like a guess or an estimation that how you want to like decrease your GPA, your score, and everything according to the school. So if you want to apply to the top US schools like Ivy League schools like Brown, Harvard, Princeton, Stanford, Dartmouth, Yale, so the students that are admitted to those schools, they have at least like a GPA of 3.8 to 4 GPA. 4 GPA is 100 perfect score. That's a perfect score. And 3.8 is like somehow 95%. Okay, I just want to be very clear with you guys that it doesn't mean if your score is like maybe 3.5 or 3.4 GPA, or you're like that's 90% or 88 or 85%, you cannot apply to the US schools. Of course, you can apply, but it depends like what schools you choose and what schools you want to study or you want to come in. If you want to come into the top US schools, then you have to have like top GPA or score. And the second thing is about the extracurricular activity. So now extracurricular activities, it can be any activity that you do outside of school. That can be like political activism, social and civil activism, like to work for refugees or to be a part of an organization or association that works for refugees or human rights. Or that can be like sports, like to be a part of a football team or tennis or anything. And that can be also like study association, educational organizations like study circles, storytelling and writing and everything. So now there are 3 things that you have to bear in mind and keep in mind, okay? One is that you cannot do a good extracurricular activity in 1 year. What happened? Sorry for that. So I don't know what happened, but yes. Why is that? Sorry, there is, yes. Sorry for that.
It's okay, no problem.
Thank you. Yeah. So now extracurricular activity, you cannot make good extracurricular activity in 1 year or 6 months or even like in 1.5 years, because so there are 2 things which are very important with extracurricular activities. One, leadership, and the second one is commitment. Okay, the question is this. Okay, there are 2 persons. One person has been a part of like 10 organizations and associations. Like he has been in one organization for 1 month, then he quits and join another one for like 6 months, then quits that again and become a part of another organization for 4 months, and somehow like that. So he is just switching between different organizations, and he writes on his CV like 10 organizations within 2 or 3 years. But there's another person, he is part of only maybe 2 or 3 organizations. He joins the organization and he goes up gradually. Maybe he's like a regular member, then he becomes a part of the board members, Hayati Mudira in Persian that we say. Then he becomes maybe the like someone in charge of the social media, then he becomes vice president, and maybe in third year or second year he becomes like the president. Now the question is this: do you think that that person who is switching between different organizations, that person has a strong extracurricular background, or the next person that who has been a part of like few organizations, but he has grown up and he has gone up gradually. He from a regular member, he has become the president of that organization. What do you think is better? Of course, that person has a strong extracurricular activity that he has begun from a very like low level, but he has come up to the high level, because US schools, they want leadership and they want commitment, passion, desire, and interest. If you show that you have been committed to one organization or one group for a long time, and you have done that a great job, and you have begun and you have gone up gradually, that means that you have passion. Because there are millions, okay, there are thousands of students, they do like extracurricular activities just to fill one of the requirements. But the US admission officers, that they know if this person has done this extracurricular for passion, due to interest, for something that he really is in love to do, or he just wants to fill some blanks on his application. So that's really important, and I encourage you to do something that you're passionate about, to do something that you are in love with, that to do something that you have commitment, and also be a leader. There's a big difference, someone who is the president of an organization and who is like a local, just a regular member. Because US schools, they want to invest on leaders. They want to invest on people that they are committed, and they think that this person will do something tomorrow and he will be committed to that. So that's really important for the extracurricular activities. And extracurricular activities, you cannot make it in 1 year or 2 years. And therefore, I say that it is like a time requirement of 2 to 4 years. And therefore, like US high school students, they start their social activism or extracurricular activities when they are in 8th grade or 9th grade, and they go up and go up. So the third one is, which takes between 1 to 3 years, and that is like English test. Now, okay, that depends a lot from person to person and what type of life circumstances and situation, responsibilities, and other things that person has. So I think if you are a high school student and you are somehow maybe working and you have a lot to do, you cannot maybe prepare for TOEFL test like in 2 months. Okay, you can prepare if you have a very strong English knowledge, like before that is a base. You can do that. I personally prepared for an English test 2 days, because I said that I learned English when I was very little, and so during this all 10 or more than 12 or 13 years, I have been speaking English and I have been interacting with people in English. And so English is very important in Sweden. People can speak, like 99% of people, they speak English like fluently, maybe 95%, not to exaggerate. So I have been having like English quite roughly like a strong base from the beginning, and therefore so I did not have to prepare a lot. So now English test can be like TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, and CAE, which is Cambridge Advanced for English test. So the question is that what score is a good score for US universities and colleges? That depends a lot from school to school. If you want to apply to the top US schools like maybe Princeton, Yale, and Columbia, and Pennsylvania, Brown, they say that you must have a minimum of 100 TOEFL score, and that will be like almost 7 bands on IELTS and 120 on Duolingo. But there are some other UC schools that they say like a TOEFL score of 90 or 85 is good for that school. So this is really important that you search and you know that what TOEFL score is required by those schools. About the fee and the price, so it is also something that's good to take into consideration. So TOEFL costs like between 200 to 300, depends on which country you take, and that's the same with the IELTS, like between 250 to 350 US dollar. And Duolingo, that is very cheap compared to those two others, that the Duolingo costs like $50. And the next thing that you should know about is that about the test location or convenience. So Duolingo is only taken online. You don't take Duolingo in any test center. You take it only online, which is very good. You can take it anytime. On the other hand, TOEFL is both. You can either take in a test center or online, which is home edition. But until today or until now, IELTS is only taken into a test center. So you cannot take IELTS online, which is really a big issue, especially during the pandemic. And about the difficulty of those tests, that is debatable. Sorry, that is debatable, like which one is difficult. So I personally think Duolingo is a bit easier. Just for sake of information, okay, I took a Duolingo test and I prepared myself just for 1 to 2 days, and I scored 135 from 160, which is just okay. So not too very high at the same time, not too low score or bad score. So about the standardized tests like SAT or SAT, they are like similar to the Concord exam of Afghanistan. So SAT is like, in SAT you have English, math, science, and reading. And the US top schools, okay, the perfect score or the complete score on SAT is 36. So the best, like the very intelligent students in US top high schools, I mean Ivy League schools and Princeton. When I say top schools, so you should think about the top 10 or top 15 US schools. So the students, they score like between 33 to 36. That's really a very high score. And SAT, that's math, writing and languages, and reading. So the perfect score is 160. Before that was 2,400, but now they have changed. So that's 160. And the top schools students, they should score like 1,500 or 1,516, somehow like that. So yes, that's somehow. Sorry, I have written IELTS here, so that's just I don't know why I have written. So just ignore that. IELTS has nothing to do here. And one thing which is really important, okay, the SAT or SAT test, due to the pandemic, it has been optional, and I did not give the SAT test because it is really important that you should evaluate and you should see that how much time you have and what things you have to make it strong. For me, because I did a research that SAT was optional, and I did not have like enough time to prepare for that because I did not know what SAT was. And in Sweden, SAT is just unknown. So I said that I cannot put like much time on SAT just on one test because, and I was maybe quite sure that maybe I will not score like extremely great. So therefore I said that it's good to put my time on other things that I think that I can do better. So, and SAT is optional, like Harvard, they have put SAT test optional until 2025. So you can again do search about schools that, which schools still have this as a SAT optional. So that's something you have to know about it. So the second thing is about the third category, which takes between 1.5 year to 1.5 year, and that is like the Common App. So when you apply to the US colleges and universities, either you apply through Common App this is the website of Common App, and here that you see that those are ticked. So I applied through Common App, and there are like 7 categories or areas that you have to fill all those questions and answer those questions in order to send your Common App. So yeah, on Common App you can list between the maximum of universities that can be 20. So you cannot apply more than 20 universities or colleges through Common App. So I applied through Common App, and most of students, they apply through Common App. So therefore I have a lot of knowledge and information about Common App, and I can say with full authority and assurance about Common App. Unfortunately, I don't know too much about Coalition App, and therefore I'm not going to talk about this either. So I think you should also apply through Common App. So that's quite like interesting, lovely, and also easy, and also helpful. So the second thing is about your personal statement. Now, personal statement, okay. So if you can see my Common App, there is a section which is written writing, and writing is that section you write your personal statement. What's a personal statement? Personal statement is a story about you, a story that should be, so these things are very important, okay? Your personal statement should not be more than 650 words, okay? And there are 7 prompts or choices or alternatives that you can write your personal statement about. So the first one is here, which I also chose this one, which was about to write about my background or personal interest, and second one is to write about that any time that you were challenged by someone, or the third prompt is to write about that someone who helped you and you are grateful and you express your gratitude for that person, and it goes on. So like people that I have known, they mostly write about the first prompt, which is a very wide and big prompt, and you can write almost like about everything. If you have like an interest, you're about background and anything. So now this is the most important thing to keep in mind. You must not cheat on any part of your application. I cannot stress it enough how it is important to be honest, genuine, and like just sincere. If you cheat, if your personal statement or any other part of your application is written by someone else, I will guarantee you, if the admission officers they find it out, they will disqualify you. Just keep it in mind, okay? Only per year, the admission officers of US colleges and universities, they read between 30,000 to 60,000 applications. So per year, they read like 60,000 personal statements, and multiply that by 10 years. How many personal statements can they read? So they really know if you cheat. If you cheat, they will catch it. They will catch it. And therefore, this is really important that your personal statement or any part of that should be reflective, thoughtful, and genuine and honest. So whenever you write, okay, keep these 3 adjectives in mind. So the next thing is start your personal statement writing as soon as possible. Write about anything that you think it shows like a very good potential or a very good academic performance in you. So everything that you have, compare them with those 7 prompts and write about one of them. I personally started writing my personal statement like last year in February or March, because that was the only thing that I could start writing, except also doing my research about US colleges and universities. That's really good to do that, okay? So do that, and maybe, so put all potentials in your personal statement. So this is also very important, that try to write as much about yourself, as a strong version of yourself, as great achievement of yourself and your personal statement as possible. But don't forget to save for other parts of the common of your application process. So now, don't write about what schools you want to apply. Don't write what program you want to apply. Touch them, but save them, because when you go to answering the US universities questions, there will be tons of questions that they will ask you. So I will go towards that just in a second. So that's about the personal statement and about the Common App. Okay, so now we will go with the third category, which is about the teacher rec letters. Okay, teacher rec, I mean recommendation letters. So now teacher recommendation letter is also a very important component or factor of your admission is a cycle. Okay, so it is really important that your teacher recommendations are very great. So now this is really important. The best teacher recommendation letters are not written like in one night or in one day or just in 1 week. Trust me, talk about with your teachers about your recommendation letter as soon as possible. Like notify them like 5 months or 6 months ago or 1 year ago, because as much time you give to your teachers to think about it and to write about you, as much time they have the best application, or sorry, the best recommendation letter they can write. If you just say that, okay, tomorrow is my last day of application submission and I need a recommendation letter, first, your teacher will ignore you and reject you. Sorry, I don't have time. Secondly, if they write, they just write a very just randomly write, and this, there you go. And you cannot expect that recommendation letter should be a perfect one or an excellent one, because the teacher does not have time for your recommendation letter. So that's really important that you talk with your teachers as soon as possible. Give them time, talk to them, and tell them what are your great qualities outside of school also, because this is good that when a recommendation letter is written, that should showcase your academic potential or performance, your leadership, your maturity, independence, well-rounded, dedication, and all other things. So I will maybe in the future will talk more in details about this all 7 or 8 factors, but today I think that's enough that you should get just a picture of that. And the last one is alumni interview. So alumni interview is not actually a part of your application process, because it will take place after your admission, after your admission submission. So when you apply to the USC schools, like after some weeks, that some schools, they will just email you or they will text you and say that we offer you an alumni interview, and do you want to join it? Okay, so it says that the link will be, the time will will be finished within 10 minutes. So I think I can finish it before that. Yeah, so just for those of you who may not know what alumni means someone who went to a school, a university or college, and they graduated. For example, if you went to Marifat High School and you graduated from Marifat High School, it means you are an alumna of Marifat High School. If you're like, I think if you are a boy, they say alumnus. If you are a girl, they say alumna, and in general they say alumni. So I hope that I did not say it wrong. So yeah, so this is after your admission application submission, and this is really important. If you are offered an alumni interview, take it, because it really helps you to give the best face of yourself or version of yourself to the college admission officers. So just want to tell you, okay, I was offered an alumni interview by Ivy League Dartmouth College. So, and I took every interview. Okay, sometimes it is very challenging dealing with many stuffs at the same time, but try to take as much as possible. I really hammered the opportunity, because I could really show the best version of myself, the reality of myself, like face to face to that alumni person. And I just to say really briefly, I think she was very impressed, and therefore that school offered me like admission with 100% scholarship, even pay for my transportation to go to the US and come back. And so that's great. That's really good to have to take the alumni interview. I think so. That was the end of this session. So I don't have like any further things. Yeah, sorry, just to give an overview of this all things. Now you think that, okay, so which components or factors are the most important? This is like this one that I have done based on my personal experience, and also doing like a little bit of research, and also listening to other students that they are admitted to the best US schools and colleges. So if you just make a percentage of this all 7 components, so GPA or your grades will make between like 25 to 30%, and your extracurricular activities that makes like between 20% of your application, and recommendation letters make between 10 to 15%. Sorry, excuse me. And your university or college to answer those questions, that makes between maybe 5 to 8%, and your personal statement that makes between 10 to 15%, and your SAT or SAT test that makes between like 10%, and TOEFL or IELTS score that makes like between 2 to 5% somehow. And I hope that I have been realistic enough when I want to try to give an overview of that. So now you have like a picture that what parts are very important, but also remember this, okay? These different schools like deal with these factors a bit differently. Maybe for some schools, your GPA and your SAT scores are the most important factors. But in some schools, they say your extracurricular activities. What I know from my friends in Harvard, they say that being just as a person and how you grow up and you just develop and evolve, meaning that you do extracurricular activities, that's very important in Harvard, because they really want to invest on leaders. So maybe Harvard is though they of course take the GPA very seriously, but they also give good attention to extracurricular activities. So this is somehow the general overview of the US schools when they evaluate your application. So just remember this, that US schools and colleges, they have a holistic approach. A holistic approach, it means a very broad look at your application. So they don't say, oh, GPA great, then this person is admitted, while you don't have any extracurricular activities. Or they say, wow, this recommendation letter for this student is perfect, so great, what a nice. Then he's offered admission, while maybe you are not strong enough in your extracurricular activities. So they put all of the things like this. I have made this picture on your screen, and they say, yeah, okay, great in GPA, great in extracurricular activities, recommendations, personal statement, everything is great, or maybe good enough. Then they say, then they make a decision. So that's the end of this part of our session for today. There will be a Q&A session, and I also know that we have only 4 minutes left. So meanwhile, you can ask your questions, and you can also please go to the next link, which will be link number 2, and I will share it here. And that will be a Q&A session, and I will answer all of your questions there.